Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy, Mac. Tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Miami Heat on the second night of a back-to-back. And while in recent years, a situation or circumstance such as this would honestly leave me a little concerned, in the Kenny Atkinson era, this has not really been something to worry about too often. Why is that, you ask? Well, let's start with the most simple reason. The Cavs, prior to tonight, have had 11 back-to-backs. Tonight obviously makes 12, but in the previous 11, they emerged victorious more often than not. They have won both games 8 out of the 11 times that they have had a back-to-back this year. One of those actually resulted in them losing both games. We're not going to talk about that. And 2 times they've lost the first or second leg of a back-to-back. But overall, they've done really, really well in this area. And tonight makes 9 out of 12. The other reason why I wasn't overly concerned is the fact that Kenny Atkinson has kept this team really fresh this year, making sure to go deep enough into the rotation so that the starters were not being tasked with a very heavy workload like we have seen in years past. The team's minutes per game leader is Donovan Mitchell at this point at 31.1 minutes per game, which is 84th most in the NBA entering tonight. And Cleveland has just 3 players averaging at least 30 minutes per game. Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland. The latter of 2 are barely playing that much. Hell, they have 10 players averaging at least 15 minutes per game. 11 if you were to factor in the newly acquired wing in Javonte Green. Everyone is getting run, and it's not only been great for chemistry and vibes, but for health and rest purposes as well. And then the final reason is the injury report. Holy hell, that injury report was stacked. I don't know if I updated this accurately, so I'm just going to put it up anyway. Maybe I'll be wrong. Jaime Jaquez Jr. out. Khalil Ware out. Andrew Wiggins out. Nikola Jovic out. Drew Smith out. Davion Mitchell did play. That's the only one that I forgot to update. But man, oh man, a lot of big names here were out, including that of Andrew Wiggins. As I mentioned, the names were just off the charts in this list. They seriously were. And when I look at what the Miami Heat have done during the Andrew Wiggins era in his 6 games since he was acquired from the Golden State Warriors in exchange for the services of Jimmy Butler. They came into tonight just 2-4 after the acquisition of Wiggins, and he has largely struggled in the 6 games since coming over from GSW, putting up averages of 17.8 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 3.3 assists while shooting a horrid 37.2% from the field and an even more worrisome 28.9% from three-point distance as he has tried to acclimate to his new surroundings. All of that said, he didn't play tonight. The Cavaliers had to worry about a couple of names tonight, and Wiggins was not one of them. But also, tonight was another example of why you must never take winning for granted in the NBA, because we have seen time and time again, these are all pros, and you can absolutely lose to a lesser opponent if you don't come to play. But for Cleveland, things did get off to a much more efficient start, which was a welcome sight considering how the last 3 games have begun. Darius Garland, who has been in quite the slump lately, really needed to see the ball go into the net because I recounted it on the last stream last night. It's just not been a good stretch of games for Darius Garland since coming back from that injury. He began the game 2 of 3, drilling 2 triples early. Very, very early into the first quarter. Donovan Mitchell would also begin this game looking to attack and antagonize the interior and heart of Miami's defense. He would score 8 of his, if I'm not mistaken, 26 points in the first quarter. And you know what? They needed it. Every single one of those points that was scored, Cleveland needed by the end of the night. This, to me, this was always going to be a slugfest. This is the 3rd game, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 4 nights. And it had the feeling that it was going to be a rock fight. But Donovan would end up scoring 8 of his points in that first frame and helped Cleveland to a 36-32 lead entering the second. And boy, oh boy, they shot the lights out compared to the last three games. The three-headed monster of Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell combined to score 22 of the Cavs' first 36. They were hurting Miami inside and out, with one of the best parts being the amount of contact that they managed to generate, especially Mobley, who, if I'm not mistaken, converted or at least drew 6 free throw attempts in the first quarter alone. And then the second began, and the second unit started to kind of show up big time. The reserves would combine to knock down 7 of Cleveland's 14 total field goals in that frame, with DeAndre Hunter doing a lot of the heavy lifting. He knocked down his fair share of baskets tonight, 3 of which came in that second quarter. And to me, his ability to knock down that above the break triple, and that is not something that we saw tonight. Let me just clarify that. He would go 0-4 from three-point land tonight. It was not a not a night that Hunter is going to want to remember from a three-point aspect. This was his shot chart and whatnot, and his final stat line was 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was efficient when you factor in the 2-point field goals, right? 6 of those. So a combined total of 6 to 12 from the field, but still 0-4 from 3-point range and 4-4 from the line. And you see his shot chart if you're watching over on YouTube on the right-hand side here, with basically all of his impacts from a field goal perspective coming in the mid-range area and right there at the rim, where he is able to drive inside and draw some of that contact that we have become accustomed to seeing him do. But yeah, DeAndre Hunter was impactful tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit more, especially in that fourth quarter stretch. He definitely came up clutch. But yeah, he did the bulk of his work in that second quarter. And it wasn't just him, right? There was a number of reserves. His lost in the shuffle of how good this rotation has been lately has been the impact of one Isaac Nnamdi Okoro. People consistently forget this guy's still very young. He was one of 10 different Cavaliers to score in that first half, and he's truly being used in a way that benefits him this season. We heard a lot. We heard a lot of talk, frankly, about Isaac Okoro's growth and how he would be utilized this season, with him being more of a screener, right? Operating as the roll man in the pick and roll. And we have seen that on occasion from Okoro this year. But what I like that I've seen from him is he's back to slashing, right? He's slashing to the rim, he's cutting to the basket, and he's knocking down those corner trays. Now, Okoro, when you really look at what he has done over the last 5 games, he is shooting 38.5% from three-point distance over his last 5 prior to tonight, and finally looks to be back to his normal self in that regard after that AC joint injury, which we know you can never really tell with those. It could be something that bothers you from game to game. And we saw this with Dean Wade not long ago. It truly takes time, especially on your shooting shoulder, to really get that rhythm back, really get that form back. And it can look funky at times, but Okoro has started to look a lot better than he had been previously, right? He would finish the night with 7 points in 10 minutes of action, 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from three-point distance. And the energy that he brought, I loved it, right? He's another reason why I feel really good about the depth that this team can put out there on a night-to-night basis. But in saying all that, Miami absolutely came to play as well. One of the premier big man matchups in the NBA took place tonight, in that of Evan Mobley versus Bam Adebayo. And I got to admit, Adebayo was impactful as ever, as the young star would often struggle against him matched up one-on-one. Same thing with Jarrett Allen tonight. He began the game 4 or 5, backing down both Mobley and Allen, shooting over the top, knocking down a shot or 2 early on from three-point distance, and continuing that on all the way down the stretch. Just showcasing that overall talent that we know that Bam Adebayo has. And here's the thing. This is his stat line. This is his shot chart. This man would finish with 34 goddamn points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, was efficient 11 of 18 from the field. That is 61.1% for you math buffs out there. 3 of 5 from three-point distance, 1 to 2. I think actually 2. I'll go as far as to say 2 of those were really, really crucial for Miami as they tried to close this game out against Cleveland before they came back. And he was a highly efficient 9 of 9, if I'm not mistaken, from the charity stripe. Bam Adebayo was getting anything that he wanted in terms of free throw attempts. He was drawing foul after foul after foul after foul. It was just it was annoying to watch, but it was not necessarily something that I could have been too pissed off about because he was doing it the right way. And with Tyler Harrell out, the offensive, burden would fall even more on him and on a pair of former Cavaliers and that of Alec Burks and Kevin Love, who we're also going to talk about here in a minute, and also Terry Rozier, somebody who has routinely lit the Cleveland Cavaliers up. And you know what? I have to do it. I hate to put it on the screen, but it bears mention. Rozier versus Cleveland in his 28 games prior. Scary Terry, as many people have become accustomed to calling him, came into this one averaging 18 points. Ignore that third highest. I don't think I actually updated that. 4.1 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.2 steals, is shooting an efficient 46.1% from the field. 42.1% from three-point range, was knocking down 85.9% from the charity stripe. True shooting percentage is what it is at 58.9%, and he was doing that in 28.3 minutes per game. This is his production versus the Cleveland Cavaliers all time, and in his time with Boston, Charlotte, and Miami now. This, to me, is a guy who has routinely hurt the Cavaliers, but that was not the case at all tonight, as Scary Terry in his 40 minutes and 17 minutes of action would finish with just 12 points on a absolutely horrific 3 of 14 from the field, including 1 of 8 from three-point range. He was solid at the line. I'll give him that. 5 of 5, but his impact was not really felt at all that much tonight. It just was not something that put a true scare into your boy, because Scary Terry, as I said, is somebody that has routinely cooked the Cavaliers, and it was good that they were able to limit what he was able to do. But I'll tell you what, somebody who did kind of stick out on the Miami side of town, and he does this almost every single time that I watch the Heat play, and that is Haywood Highsmith. He's just an energy guy out there that always seems to bring a little bit of defensive value to Miami's rotation. He does exactly what you want him to, right? Cuts to the basket, won't really complain about the role that he has, will take on tough defensive matchups, and he can knock down the three-point shot. This is actually somebody that I envisioned in Cleveland if he had become available around the trade deadline. But hey, he's doing some good things for Miami right now. And you saw that pretty early on when he swiped the ball away from Ty Jerome and scored on the other. And he's another one of these guys like a Javonte Green, like an Isaac Okoro, right, who can get out and transition and absolutely hurt you. Haywood Highsmith would finish tonight with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. He did turn the ball over. Well, actually, no, he didn't turn the ball over, but he committed 5 personal fouls, and he was 5 of 9 from the field, including 1 of 3 from three-point distance. This is somebody that can impact a game in a positive way, and I remain impressed with Haywood Highsmith. So shout out to him. Got to give him his fair due, his props. But tonight was no easy night for Miami. The only real basket, in my opinion, that stuck out to me as being an easy one was Terry Rozier's drive inside for an uncontested layup early in that second. Everything else felt contested. And I know that sounds sacrilege to say considering how the game ended, but I'll tell you, I thought that the defense was there tonight. I just thought that Cleveland, they looked a little bit gassed out there. They did not have efficiency on their side as a whole, but they would finish the game shooting at least 35% from three-point distance. So I guess I can't complain too much. And don't get me wrong, Miami definitely put in some work. They hit some contested triples tonight. They hit some contested jumpers in general, especially in terms of that mid-range jump shot. You saw Bam in particular do that a lot tonight, but they had to work for a lot of what they got. Both teams shot comparably in the first 2 quarters. Cleveland would convert on 46.9% of their field goals, including 31.8% from range in that first half, while Miami would shoot 46.7% and 31.6% respectively. They were both effective inside the arc, but not so much outside of it. And then things picked right up where they left off in the first half as Bam got things kicked off by drawing a shooting foul on Evan Mobley around the rim. And then Jarrett Allen got a mismatch on Taylor Rozier and made him pay for it. And then K-Love would then hit consecutive buckets, drilling a right corner triple and then a pull-up midi. And I hate to see that. He's such a savvy vet still and would wind up finishing the night with more points than I would have bet on him finishing with. He would finish with 10 points on 3 of 8 from the field to go along with 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 2 blocks. Kevin Love low-key filling up the stat sheet. So I guess give him some love for that. But that wasn't even the part that was really pissing me off, because Kevin Love, he just, in that third quarter specifically, it just felt like he was turning back the clock a little bit as he would drill that triple and get to the basket after getting getting the Max Strus mismatch. It did not make me feel good. What did make me feel good, Jarrett Allen rejecting Kevin Love at the rim at least once tonight. Then DG would pick the ball off and lay it in on the other end. You got Darius Garland kind of showing out in the second half of this game, making some plays. And I'll tell you this, Darius Garland really, really could use a day off. I was saying this before the game. I know it's a nationally televised game, but get this man some rest. And I know he's coming off of 2 prior games where he missed and they gave him rest, but I think he really needs to sit down. And after Cavaliers have played 3 in the last 4 nights, I think you got to get this man some real rest out there, and hopefully they'll be able to do that after clinching this playoff berth. Maybe they shuffle guys in and out. Maybe they start to prioritize rest a little bit more, but Darius is right up there for one of the guys that I really want to see get some rest down the stretch. I just want this man healthy. There are a number of Cavaliers on the roster that I want to just, put in bubble wrap until the playoffs, including DeAndre Hunter, including Darius Garland, who always seems to get hit in the face, including Dean Wade. These are all guys that I just want to put in bubble wrap and unpack come the first game of the playoffs against whatever opponent the Cavs draw. But, we can't do that. Back to the game. Davion Mitchell would tie the game at 71 all, and they were looking to take the lead on a pair of those Kevin Love free throws, like I mentioned, on where he got the mismatch on Max Strus. It just kept on going like that. And I know it might sound sacrilege to say this, but I got to admit, Kevin Love is the type of backup center that we could use right now. And I know somebody out there is going to say, well, Mac, Kevin Love is not a center, but I would like to inform you that he's played 65% of his minutes at center this year from Miami and 74% the year prior. It's something that he is certainly capable of doing. He's been doing for the last couple of years. He can space the floor. He's a solid enough rebounder and isn't necessarily complete chop liver in the post. I know in space, Kevin Love has never been a great defender, but if you get him matched up one-on-one, just like a George Niang against very specific matchups, he can hold his own. And he kind of showed that at points tonight. Following that, Bam would knock down a midi and put Miami up 3. Ty Jerome would knock down a floater. And then after a few nice defensive possessions from Cleveland, the Cavs would retake the lead on a Darius Garland pull-up triple. The teams would trade shot clock violations as both would play high-level defense, especially out on the perimeter. A ton of good closeouts and rotations in this one. Just got to put that out there. Bam would tie the game at 76 on a contested layup. Ty Jerome would then take the lead right back with the triple. This motherfucker, I entered the game feeling like he had a really, really good chance to win the 6th man of the year. But after what Peyton Pritchard did tonight, I just don't know if it'll happen, because that's going to be the performance that is going to stick in everybody's minds. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, if you're listening to this next day, I encourage you to go look at the box score for the Boston game, and it will paint you a portrait of why Ty Jerome's 6th man of the year candidacy might be in danger, because that's the type of performance from Peyton Pritchard that is going to be iconic enough to maybe solidify it. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. There's still some time left, but Peyton may have sealed the deal with the performance that he had tonight. Nevertheless, this is a Cavaliers podcast, so back to the Cavs action. Rozier would turn the ball over, and Donovan Mitchell would immediately make him pay for it with a pull-up triple from above the break. Then DeAndre Hunter would get in on the action. You got Donovan Mitchell getting to the line for two after a handful of offensive rebounds for Cleveland. Then you got Haywood Highsmith, again, being very impactful out there, knocking down that corner triple, bringing it to within 4 as Cleveland would get the last crack at it in that third quarter after DeAndre Hunter blocked Larson at the rim, which was a great sequence. Duncan Robinson would then kick off the fourth quarter with a nearly uncontested layup, cutting it to 2. And this is at that point in the fourth quarter, that is essentially when I knew it was going to be a dogfight to the end. He would then drill a triple to give the Heat the lead once more, to which Kyle Anderson would add to before Donovan Mitchell would knock down a triple to tie the game again. And there was just so many freaking lead changes and ties in this one. And at that point, there were 7 lead changes and 6 total ties up to that point. And Highsmith would get to the line after drawing a foul on Sam off of a beautiful baseline cut. Bam would draw more free throws on D Wade after he got him off of his feet, putting the lead at 93-89 Miami. Donovan would hit a tough one to pull it back within 4. And at that point, it just felt like Bam, he got exactly what he wanted. He just drew so many fucking calls. And I can't even be mad. Like I said, he just kept getting his defenders, including Evan Mobley, off of their feet. It just felt like easy money for him because it didn't matter who the defender was, whether it was Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, DeAndre Hunter, Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell at points, believe it or not. It did not matter who he had on him. He just was so deliberate with his motions, and he was able to get multiple Cavalier defenders off of their feet. And that is not what you want to see at all if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. At that point, they fell behind 193 before DeAndre Hunter would draw a 2-shot foul that would eventually spark a Cleveland run. Bam would continue to cook. That's just what he did tonight. Got to give him his props. He went off for 34. He knocked down a midi over the outstretched arms of Evan Mobley. But then Max Strus, the former member of the Miami Heat himself, assisted Mobley on a dunk attempt and then drilled a triple to cut it to 2. Like I said, this was an absolute dog fight till the end, but I can appreciate both teams kind of hanging in there and giving us a show. Bam would drill a triple from above the break. Strus would counter with one of his own, and then Donovan would drill one, taking the lead back in the process. Highsmith would cut to the basket for 2. Then Hunter would find Mobley at the rim for 2. The lead just kept shifting. Back and forth we go. Back and forth we go. Hunter would knife his way inside for 2, putting the Cavs up 3. And then with 39 seconds left, Miami down with a chance to tie the game, Duncan Robinson would step out of bounds on a shot that likely would have tied the game, which is absolutely brutal for Miami. And then the late game fouling began, and that was essentially all she wrote. I hope you enjoyed that long-winded short story in regards to how this game ended. But yes, this was not the prettiest performance. A win is a win, though. A win is absolutely a win, as Oren Smith says down here. Go Cavs in that regard. Cleveland, again, not another highly efficient night in all regards, but, kind of middle of the pack. They ended up shooting 47.1% from the field overall and 35% from three-point distance on 40 attempts. So they did drill 14. I can live with that. They were 16 of 22 from the line. Got to get that up. That is just 72.7%. They pulled down 55 rebounds to Miami's 47, so they won the rebounding battle. The one thing that I took umbrage to at times was the offensive rebounds. Now, the stat sheet will say that Cleveland out-rebounded them on the offensive glass 10-9, but what I'll say is this. They got some really, really big-time offensive rebounds. A lot of them came from Bam Adebayo. That's what it felt. I know that Bam, he put in as much work as he could, and he only pulled down 2 offensive rebounds, but it just felt timely. That's all I'm trying to say. It felt like Bam and others were coming down with some really, really well-timed offensive rebounds to generate additional offensive possessions for this team. Now, in total, Miami would finish with just 12 second chance points to Cleveland's 15, but I don't know why it felt like Miami had more than that. I don't know what it is. It felt that way. In regards to the turnover battle, 13-13 all, not bad at all. The team did have some costly mistakes down the stretch. Both teams did, honestly. The one that sticks out to me is one of the final possessions that Miami got. Bam Adebayo had a mismatch in that of Max Strus. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. He's got the size advantage on Max. He is a better offensive talent than Max is a defender. So he had a mismatch, and it was basically an unforced error. Bam turned the ball over. He turned the ball over. So that had to hurt. That really, truly had to hurt if you're Bam Adebayo after putting up 34, and you're getting the opportunity to go one-on-one. You have ISO Max Strus, and you turn the ball over. And then on the opposite end, right, you got turnovers that could have been costly from Darius, Garland, and Donovan Mitchell down the stretch. But overall, both teams, they only combined for 26 total turnovers. And I think both teams can, at the very least, be happy with that level of carefulness with the basketball, if there's no other way that I can put it. But again, not the cleanest performance, but a win is a win. This is their 12th straight. They have now clinched a playoff berth. They have won 52 fucking games. Let's go. I guess that's really all that there is to this one. We need the Cavaliers to get some rest. I know one of the big talking points after this one, after Jarrett Allen dropped, 25 points and 17 rebounds against Portland. He now has he dropped 4 and 8 against the Heat. I know a lot of people are probably going to be yapping about that one, but you know what? A W is a W. Mobley finished with 16 points and 13 rebounds. Yet another double-double for him on an efficient 7 of 10 from the field. One thing that I need Mobley to continuously work on, the charity stripe. Just 2 of 7 from the line tonight. That is 28.6%. We really, really need really need him to work to work on that. That's something that Mobley has got to continue to get in the lab and work on. But yeah, that is the game, my friends. We will see. We will see how things play out down the stretch. To the chat we go. Right off the bat, we have Eric Edelman who says, "Let's go Cavs." I agree. Jeremy Johnson says 52 and 10. Absolutely, man. Through 62 games, this team has won 52. That is just crazy production to me. They are now just 15 wins 15 wins away from beating the franchise record. Jeremy also says that no big lineup in a close game was nerve-wracking. It certainly was. But this is the thing about Kenny Atkinson. I think that he is using these final games of the regular season to kind of experiment and tinker where he can. He's looking to make playoff level adjustments where he can, and I can respect that. I thought that he did a pretty good job overall tonight with the rotations and with some of the out of timeout calls, stuff that we've seen from him all season. Pale White Dot says DG with a full bag of dimes. Yeah, Darius continues to kind of be inefficient, but he is finding guys and putting them in position to score. He would have finished tonight with 10 assists and 15 points on 5 of 12 from the field, including 3 of 9 from three-point distance. I think the shot and the touch will come back, but even when that's not happening, as long as he can manage to make an impact in other ways, I can't be too mad. Richard Smith says, clinched playoff berth, amazing and historic. Certainly feels that way. Cleveland Cavaliers says 12-game winning streak. Let's go Cavs. Just some guy from Cleveland says Harrell was out too. Yeah, I forgot to include him on that graphic. Jeremy Johnson says the Cavs are coasting at this point. They are just waiting for the playoffs so they can shut all the talking heads up, because this Cavs team turns into a different beast in the last 4 minutes. In the clutch, this Cleveland Cavaliers team has been destroying teams all season long. Darius Garland has honestly been a big part of that. And in that regard, Pale White Dot says DG hasn't been bad, but he also hasn't been good. Yeah, again, that perfectly sums up his level of production lately. He's not terrible. He's not bad. He just hasn't been efficient, but he has found ways to contribute. Low-key Idealist says Hunter had the highest plus-minus on either team. DeAndre Hunter continues to be an impressive addition. He did not knock down a triple tonight. RIP to many parlays out there tonight. But at the end of the day, DeAndre just finds ways to be a winning player. He has now if I'm not mistaken, a perfect 10-0 as a Cleveland Cavalier. That's awesome. How can you not love that? Seriously, how can you not love that? Soft Taco says, Cavs will finally be in my neck of the woods Friday, so hopefully they bring in a win for me. I hope so too, man. Make it 13 straight. We shall see. Mr. King 562 says, Bam went off. Felt like Mobley was flat on the rebounding, even though he had the night off last night. Yeah, I mean, Bam was really, really up for this one. And I think that just kind of speaks to the level of competition that the Cavaliers will face as this season kind of winds down. The Cavaliers really getting everybody's best shot. It feels that way. And I know the team has not won a title yet, but they are certainly playing like the best team in the NBA. And yes, that includes the Oklahoma City Thunders and the Boston Celtics of the world. I'm sorry. Lockdown Publication says, bro, Wade is pathetic. He's hesitant to shoot, slow as molasses, and when he does shoot, it's a brick. I'm sorry, Lockdown, but me and you will forever disagree on that. I think that Dean Wade is a very valuable player. I know that his shot will come and go, and that his statistical output will not necessarily paint him in the most favorable of lights, but against a series in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics team, you're going to see just how valuable a player like Dean Wade is. Fair point. Dean would finish with just 2 points tonight and 1 assist in his 11 minutes or so of action and was a -2 on the floor. That said, I'm not going to use one game to condemn the guy after pretty good performances after the last couple, especially against Boston, where he limited Jaylen Brown to 2 of 6 and was pretty key in getting the Cavaliers to turn that game around. Wade is just a winning player, man. Cavaliers are now a perfect, if I'm not mistaken, 15-0 with Dean Wade coming off the bench. He's just a winning guy. He leads to wins. I'm sorry to tell you that. Hate it if you disagree. And I'm sorry, but it's just the case. Calvin Hancock says we almost lost to a center-led team. I mean, Bam is good. Bam is a damn good player. No harm, no foul. If they would have lost tonight, I wouldn't have used this game to talk shit. It was the second leg of a back-to-back, but hell, I'll take a win. A win is a win. Kurt Davis says, am I the only one that misses K-Love? I wouldn't say that I miss K-Love, but I can certainly say that Kevin Love is the kind of 5 that you kind of need, right? If a guy that can space the floor, who can rebound to a decent degree, I wouldn't be opposed to having a Kevin Love type of player on the roster. But the problem is that floor spacing centers or stretch 5s are very, very difficult to find because usually a team will scoop them up as fast as possible. Jeremy Johnson says they'll clean it up as they go now. It's just fine tuning this beautiful machine. I agree. Jay Tiller says respect to Coach Spo, though. Yeah. One thing that you can always agree with in regards to Eric Spoelstra is that he, no matter who is out there, no matter who is hurt, who is playing, who's on the court, he will have his guys playing good, efficient basketball. That is just the case. He is a really, really good coach. Oren Smith says, finally a real coach, facts, not named Jay Bozo. LOL. I know people still, Oren seems to not really care too much, but you got to give props to JP Bickerstaff too, for what he has done in Detroit. He wasn't the guy to get the Cavaliers over the hump here. So I wouldn't necessarily call him a bozo. He's been awesome. For the People says, congratulations to you being featured on Cleveland Cavaliers Throwback. It's just like the second or third time that they have done that. And I'm always very, very appreciative when they do. I mean, that's every time I watch it. I mean, I'm captivated. And it's not because they include some of my audio in it. It's literally because the visuals, the aesthetics, the audio engineering of that series has been phenomenal, right? I love the storytelling that they do and how they break up the season in different segments, but it's always an honor to be included on that. So thanks, Cavaliers, for doing that. Universal Law says JA didn't play well. No, he certainly did not. But I'm not gonna come down on him too hard after the performance that he gave in the prior game. Jeremy Johnson says, yeah, Wade is our Boris DL. What an interesting comp. Mr. King 562 says Jay Bozo is crazy. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, come on, give the guy some credit. He's turned Detroit around. And I know it's not just him, but coaching matters. Coaching matters. Thank you for at least admitting that you just don't like him. I mean, you can at least admit that. It looks like you have. I appreciate the candidness of that. Kirk Davis says, how long before we clinch number one seed? I don't know, man. To be honest, clinching a playoff berth is enough to me, though. I'll take that all the long day. I'll have to do a little bit of research on that. Somebody else may have already provided that, but at 52-10, I think that they are now 8 or 9 games ahead of Boston. And so what that would mean, if they've played 62 games, they have 20 left, they have an 8 or 9 game lead on Boston. What does that mean? Like 9 or 10 games? 11? My math is consistently off, right? I continue to tell you guys I'm not good at math at all, but I think it's maybe 10 games before Boston has absolutely no chance to make up ground, like from a mathematical standpoint. Slim Hazard may have come up with the correct number. He says magic number for the number one seed is about 13 or so. There you go, right there. J47 says we got to find a way to get JA hype every game because sometimes he looks dejected, and those usually are the games he's not putting up numbers. Here's the thing. I think I said this on last night's stream. Jarrett Allen is attempting his fewest field goal attempts per game since he became the Cleveland Cavalier, right? He's attempting fewer than 8. He's getting the least amount of minutes that he's gotten since he's arrived in Cleveland, right? Sub 30. Jarrett is one of those guys who consistently is asked to sacrifice. He doesn't really complain about that. He is an all-star in his role, and the numbers will come and go. Some nights he is going to be capable of putting up 20 and 10. Others, he's going to be putting up 10 or 11 and 8 rebounds, right? I don't necessarily use statistical production to judge Jarrett Allen because most nights he has turned into the 4th and sometimes even 5th option, especially with DeAndre Hunter in town. And keep in mind, Evan Mobley was back out there tonight. The entire starting 5 was healthy. So that puts Jarrett Allen in his usual complement of minutes and touches. That said, I will say this. I think the hand, the injury is certainly bothering him a little bit. I'm not going to use that as too much of an excuse, though, because he'll have his performances like he had against, was it Portland, where he just absolutely showed out. And so to me, I don't look at necessarily the numbers, the statistical output. I look at the mentality out there. I look at the effort level. And I think that sometimes you just have to concede that the player that you are playing against is just better. And Bam certainly is a better overall player than Jarrett Allen. It might sound crazy to say, but Bam he's still very, very talented on both ends of the floor. So I take no pleasure in saying that, but it's just the reality. Crestland Garden says JA takes out the trash. He absolutely does. Mr. King 562 says Allen better not play 82 games and then get hurt in the playoffs. Yeah. See, that's the one. That's the one. I'm thinking Portland. It's Chicago. I don't know why I'm getting those mixed up. You had 25 and 17 against Chicago, not Portland. Dumbass me. Michael Craig says Wade is the Bruce Bowen for the Cavs defense. I don't know if I can quite go Bowen level, but he is up there, right? He is as impactful as can be as a defender out there. And I think a lot of people still just don't want to give the man his fair share of praise. And I get it. Until Wade stays healthy in a playoff setting, people are probably just not going to give the man his flowers. That's just how it is. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. Everybody contributed tonight. I think everybody that played for Cleveland tonight scored, if I'm not mistaken. Kenny Atkinson essentially went with 10 tonight, right? You got Max, Evan, Jarrett, Donovan, Darius, Ty, DeAndre, Sam, Wade, and Isaac. Nobody played fewer than Isaac Okoro's 10 minutes and 3 seconds. In the reserves, the minute distribution was okay tonight. Ty played about 25 minutes. DeAndre played about 25 minutes. And you got Sam with 15 or 16. And Dean and Isaac basically 11 minutes, right? So I thought that there was a pretty good breakdown in terms of minutes distribution tonight for Kenny Atkinson as he looks to continuously make sure that the starters are not playing heavy totals of minutes. Now, tonight was one of those games that came down to the wire where you did need a little bit more out of them. Evan, as a result, played 35 minutes and 31 seconds. Donovan played 35 minutes and 40 seconds as he leads the Cavs in minutes on the season in general, and Darius played 31 and 52. So Kenny and his coaching staff continuing to do a really good job at keeping these guys fresh. At the end of the day, though, this is another step in the right direction, another chance to get closer to the ultimate goal, which is a championship. And I'll take it. As always, tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, send a review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you're watching over on X, like I know most of you are, do your boy a favor, go to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going live. Good night. Go Cavs.